Everyone, the time is 8:33, so I will call this meeting to order. Team, we have a lot to do this morning. Okay, our first item is excused absences. I understand that we have two, Director Van Fossen and Director Bershey. Do I have a motion to approve the excused absences?
So moved.
Support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, our next item, do we have any conflicts of interest with any of the agenda items? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to minutes approval. Do I have a motion for approval of the minutes from our July 24, 2024 meeting?
So moved.
Support.
Any discussion or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I do want to point out, per discussion from our last meeting, that we will not have financial statements for review at this time, but look forward to those hopefully in September following the audit that Trish is working on. Okay, I need a motion to move our public comment from, I guess, second to last on the agenda to our next agenda item. Do I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll proceed with public comment.
I have one if there are no others. I'd like to welcome Tico Duckett, President, CEO of Duckett Brothers Distributing and D Squared Facilities Management. He called me a couple months ago and told me that he was bringing his business to Grand Rapids, which is a 100-person commercial cleaning and janitorial supply company. that it also has the minority certifications. And I thought this would be an appropriate venue for TICO to come, given that many of the projects that we are reviewing are interested in a certain amount of MBE, WBE, MLBE content. So I want to welcome TICO to Grand Rapids, and I hope each of you can meet him, between now and into the future. We'll be meeting with Ahmad Hardy after this meeting, who's with the city here, the Minority Business Development Director. And I would also say that TICO wouldn't tell you this, but he's one of MSU's top 10 running backs of all time. And as a Spartan, top 5. Oh, excuse me. All right. I think you're behind TJ, though. No, just want to welcome TICO, and I encourage each of you that have projects that need that sort of content, to meet TICO. And I think his company has done a great job, and they'll be a nice addition to West Michigan here. Thank you.
Thank you, Troy. Yeah, TICO, you're welcome to say a few words if you like. Otherwise, we look forward to catching up with you in the future here. Okay, we are now moving to action items. We do have a request to move our first agenda item, which is the Emerging Developer Grant and Brownfield Plan recommendation for the Cesar E. Chavez project. We'd like to move that after what we currently have as number 6 on the action item agenda. So I'm going to need a motion to approve the move.
So moved. Support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, that moves us to what is now item 1, which will be recommending a brownfield plan for the 648 Bridge redevelopment project. Do I have a motion to approve?
I move.
Support.
All right, Jess, take it away.
All right, good morning, everyone. So this first project is being proposed by Talbot Bridge LLC, which is an entity associated with Talbot Development for the properties located at 648 Bridge Street Northwest and 345 Lexington Avenue Northwest. The property at 648 Bridge is the site of the former Dettler's grocery store, which closed in 2017 and has been vacant since. The plan is to demolish the existing building and construct a 5-story mixed-use building that will contain about 1,500 square feet of retail space on the ground floor, an integrated parking structure, and up to 148 residential units. The apartments that are proposed will be a mixture of studios, 1 bedrooms, and 2 bedrooms, with affordability estimated between 80 and 120% AMI. It is expected that a future tenant of the retail space will create up to 4 full-time jobs with average wages of $18 an hour. This might look somewhat familiar to you. This is a very similar project to their Talbot Development's project on Quimby that you approved last year, which I think is nearing completion, right? Okay. And so this project is very similar, but larger in scale and more units. Total project costs are estimated to be about $30 million with construction costs of $23.6 million. And the developer is seeking reimbursement from the Brownfield Authority for $3.6 million of eligible activities that include demolition, site preparation, and public infrastructure improvements, public infrastructure. And then the Brownfield plan is expected to remain in place for 18 years, and then the final 5 years of the plan will be recaptured for the LBRF. They are participating in the inclusion plan, and they have set a goal of 10% participation, or $2.36 million of the construction costs for the MLBE, WBE, and MBE participation. And the project did go before the Planning Commission for optional plan review and received the necessary approvals to move forward, including a parking waiver. The project is also seeking a 15-year neighborhood enterprise zone, which will be considered alongside the Brownfield plan at the City Commission. And now I'm going to ask Ryan Talbot from Talbot Development, and then we also have Joe Augustinelli from Michigan Growth Advisors here as well to answer any questions.
Thanks, Jess.
All right, thank you, Jess. Good morning, everybody. Not a running back, but very happy to be here, for sure. Yeah, thank you so much for considering helping us out with this project here. So as Jess mentioned, this is kind of a big sibling to the project that I'm already underway on in Creston. That project finishes up in just a couple of months here, and it's going really, really well. So we're using the same design build firm, Pinnacle Construction Group here in Grand Rapids, to do the second one. And the goal of this project is really to just put as many heads and beds as we can in a really great walkable neighborhood location. So the building is going to be, fairly dense for the size of the site. So 148 units on like 3/4 of an acre is a pretty good like unit per acre. And then we also have a focus on sustainability. I haven't found a shorter way to say it than like as sustainable as is feasible under the circumstances. Maybe I can workshop that a little bit, but the idea is to, take advantage of the relatively common and accessible ways to make a building a little bit better. So it's going to be all electric, with the exception of the backup generator, but the whole building will be electric, all the water heaters and appliances and stuff. We'll have solar panels on the roof. We haven't sized the array quite yet, but typically it's enough to offset at least 1/4 to maybe 1/3 of the common area usage. We're planning on the same window system that we're using in Creston, which is a really great triple pane window that's really energy efficient, but it's also really good at blocking sound transmission. So especially on a busy corridor like Bridge Street, that's really helpful from a noise pollution standpoint inside the units. And we'll have electric vehicle charging in the parking structure for sure, probably somewhere in the range of 10 to 12 EV chargers on day one. And then it's a really easy thing to just bury some extra conduit to have some capacity to light up some more spots in the future. So hopefully this is a building that is good on day one, and then, as it's all electric and it's sort of future-proofed a little bit, the building greens along with the grid over time. So happy to answer any questions or get into any more detail that you like.
Thank you, Ryan. Any discussion from the board?
Thank you. Thanks, Joe. Thanks for being here. And as a second ward commissioner, I see that going up, and glad to see that project and that we're nearing that completion. I just, like you said, this is kind of following that similar blueprint, but a little bit bigger. Mm-hmm. And I know you have the different goals for MLBE. Are you using a number of the same suppliers? What does that look like? Just wanting to get a sense of how that went on this Creston neighborhood project and how it's playing out here.
Yeah, so we haven't gotten into actually bidding out any of the subcontracts yet. We're still finishing up construction drawings. But the entire thesis of this building is to copy and paste as much of what's working well from the first building to the second one, improve where we can. But, using the same contractor, we're probably going to end up using the same lender, the same incentive package, things that have really worked well on that first deal. We have a good path to continue on the second one. You can see even the architecture is quite similar from the first one.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you, Ryan.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, so we have a second for our motion to approve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Good luck. Okay, moving on. Our next action item is recommendation of a brownfield plan for the 385 Leonard redevelopment project. Do I have a motion to approve?
Support.
Good way, Jess.
All right. All right, so this next project is proposed on the vacant portion of the Sun Title site located at 385 Leonard Street Northeast. The developer is proposing to build a new 5-story, 130,000 square foot building with an integrated parking deck, 622 square feet of retail space, and up to 181 apartments. Total investment is estimated at $39 million with construction costs of $28.4 million. 3 full-time jobs are expected to be created as a result of the project, with average wages of $22 an hour. The 181 apartments will be a mixture of studios, 1 and 2 bedrooms, and will be largely rented at market rate, except for 36 of the units, which will be income restricted in accordance with your policy around housing TIF. So 10 of the 36 units will be income restricted for households earning up to 70% AMI, and then 26 for households earning at or below 110% AMI. So this is, again, 20% of the units, and that's in accordance with your policy. When completed, the project will also have solar panels installed, have all electric utilities, and will be Energy Star certified. The reimbursement request for Brownfield eligible activities is about $12.5 million for demolition, site preparation, infrastructure improvement, and housing development activities. So similar to other projects you've seen, the housing development activities here that are requested are reimbursement to fill a financing gap, and then also reimbursement for potential rent loss. So these activities, again, are associated just with the 36 income restricted units. Reimbursement is expected to occur over 25 years, which means the income restricted units will remain income restricted for 25 years. And the estimated rent loss over that 25-year period is $6.1 million. The plan will remain in place for the full 30 years, with the final 5 years being captured for the LBRF. And again, this developer is also participating in the inclusion plan and working towards a goal of 10% or $2.8 million in subcontractor participation. And then the project did also receive approval for a planned redevelopment district, or PRD, through the Planning Commission and the City Commission to facilitate the development of this project. They're expected to start construction next spring and then wrap up in the spring of 2027. And I'm going to ask James Lewis to come up now and share some additional information about the project.
Thanks, Jess.
Jess, thank you. Tom Cronkite, one of the owners of Sun Title. I just wanted to say a few things about this redevelopment that we're excited about. One, thank you for the consideration of supporting this project. Lawrence and I will be celebrating 20 years in business starting in January of this coming year. And Creston is our forever business headquarters home. So we can say that definitively. The redevelopment of the former Hope Network building there has gone very well, fully stabilized, and our vision for community impact kind of continues with the YMCA and some other partnerships that we've done. This is the next version of our story, the 70% AMI. We wanted to go a little bit deeper and really have an outsized impact in ways that we could come alongside either new employees. Well, I always had this vision that we could take somebody that maybe isn't headed for college, but we could create a training mechanism and a housing option on campus to really create a professional lane that might not be open to them otherwise through some type of college degree, or just come alongside a family that's going through housing disruption. And there is a lot of housing disruption right now, with the average cost of a home in the Grand Rapids area approaching $400,000, and it's hard to get a head around. So we're excited about this. We're excited about all the economic activity that's taking place in Creston. What we like about this area, the proximity to the medical mile, the proximity to just the mobility around the bus lanes on the corner of Lafayette and Leonard, and the design, we think, with the elevation between the church just to the west and the way that the building sits, our headquarters to the east, I think would be a really nice tuck-in in augmentation of the development. So, James, anything I'll let Jim, he knows way more about this part of it than I do, but I just wanted to say thank you.
Yeah, I'm just going to talk a brief moment on the Brownfield eligible activities traditionally. It's a challenging site. It slopes up about 20 feet from the corner there of Lafayette and Leonard up to the existing Sun Title building and has urban fill on it. And to get a building on there, the best solution that we could find was to build an underground parking deck, which in the Creston neighborhood is still financially a challenging situation for the project, but necessary to redevelop this site. So we didn't take that on lightly, and part of the strategy is that it is a brownfield eligible activity in the traditional sense. So a lot of our activities are preparing the site for that deck and putting that deck in there, and then backfilling. As Tom mentioned, our goals around housing and inclusion there. So we filled out the back end of the brownfield with that program. So if you have any questions, happy to answer.
Thank you, James. Director Rebo?
Yeah. Maybe it's for the other guy, but I was curious, the existing building, you're using the whole thing as part of your headquarters? Because that's quite a large building. At first, when I heard this was being developed, I thought you were developing the other part of the building.
Yeah.
What is this?
No. So we put the building under contract during COVID, and then after the COVID cycle kind of passed, interest rates went up. So our space needs kind of adjusted alongside the market adjustment. We were able to lease the second floor, kind of led by Honor Construction, he's a whole great story as well. And then we have some architects. We have office use on the second floor that we're leasing. So all real estate and kind of creative related. So we've got a little bit of an office hub and co-op going on the second floor. And then we're occupying the main floor. There was a large kitchen because it used to be the old St. John's home. And the YMCA, with everything going on with the stadium, needed a new home for their food service. And they're supporting literally almost 1,000 meals for kids on a daily basis. And they're a hoot. They're jamming with music. I mean, it's a lot of fun to come in at 6 o'clock in the morning and hear it lively. But yeah, it's fully used. And then the rec center, we call it, there's a full gym and there's a rec center, and we're really, we've been programming some youth and mentorship activities because there's just a lack of programming in Creston, and we're trying to fill some of that. Now we're co-oping with the YMCA. We're doing an intro to sports on the green space this fall, but there's everybody just loves coming in the gym, and we partner with the elite stars that practice in the gym, and they're doing, I think, a 3rd grade to 5th grade girls camp that they do. So those are just some examples that we're using the space for. It's been a wonderful campus and just a really good reuse, frankly. Our concern was when Hope made the decision to kind of tuck Pivot, which is what the programming, what would happen to that size of a site within the district. So, any other questions for me? Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, it looks like a great project. Thank you for this development. So I'm just curious about the 181 apartments and the 80 dedicated spaces. Where do you envision the other 100 parking spaces for the tenants?
Yeah. So if you look at what my understanding is that the 0.5 to 1 is fairly common in kind of the downtown core. There's a lot of on-street parking. So if you look at Front Street, you look down Lafayette Street, and the adjacencies, there's quite a few on-street parking, not on Lafayette in that area, but just past it. So and while our lot is full, there may be a little bit of a co-oping of off hours. We have just short of 90 spaces, I think, maybe 80 spaces, because when we moved into our new headquarters at 385, we added about 40 spaces as part of that approval.
Yeah, additionally, it's there's 2 bus lines located within 500 feet of the front door of the building, one across the street, one just down on Leonard, so you can easily get to the family fair and downtown, and then you can walk to the dash line from there. And we're programming a significant amount of covered, secured bike parking in the building. So it's a multimodal site right in an urban area. We feel it's an appropriate amount of parking.
Yeah, and the PRD approval, I think, included a waiver to get to that count.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Oh, just a comment for Tom. Just wanted to congratulate you on all of the success that you and your partner, Lawrence, have had through the years. It's been really fun to watch as you have success in various entrepreneurial pursuits. And I wanted to commend you on your commitment to the neighborhood there. I've been meandering through there for 15 years on my way home, and it's just impressive, what you've been able to do over there. So thank you.
I appreciate that, Director. Director Wells?
Hi, thank you. On the parking thread, I was curious, do you intend to rent the parking spaces separate from the units? So would that be an additional charge? And will there be, similar programs where if you are renting it separate from the unit, that there would be discounts for, the households earning at or below 70% AMI?
Yeah, we plan on renting the parking spaces similar to the market that's out there. And the first time that question's come up, so I don't have a good answer for that.
Thank you. Thanks for the presentation. I live down the block, so this is my neighborhood, another second ward project. And I think one of the things that is standing out to me, and maybe this is a question for you, Jess, what's the closest dash spot to this location? Because I think, again, we've just invested not here on this body, but on commission with some different zoning changes. We know we're actually investing in a car share program that's going to be in all of the wards. There is walkability I saw my neighbor just walking downtown here to the meeting as I was driving down here. But it is also an area where there is a lot of traffic going. I think it's like a, entry point to Corwell Health. And so just wondering where that dash spot is.
I don't know offhand, but I
Okay.
could look it up and get back to you if that's okay. Christian says Leonard and Monroe.
Okay. Double confirmed up here, so.
Great, thank you.
So a little bit away, but, I think some good proximity as well. So I think that's an opportunity to think through that. Just thinking also, Lafayette is people just speed up and down that area. So just thinking about, probably one of the biggest calls that I get to my office is just pedestrian safety, car speeding. So with that parking structure, just would encourage some additional thought process about that pedestrian safety in that area. Thanks.
Okay, appreciate the good dialogue. So we have a motion to approve on the table. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Good luck, gentlemen. Okay, our next item is a resolution approving a restated Act 381 work plan and development and amended reimbursement agreement for the Vandenberg Center redevelopment project located at 111 Lion Street Northwest. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Support.
All right, Jess.
All right, so this project came before you at your April meeting and has been through the city commission process for approval for both the Brownfield, first amendment to the Brownfield plan, and then the 15-year neighborhood enterprise zone. So like I said, this is a first amendment to the Brownfield plan that you approved. So what we're doing today is asking you to approve a restated work plan, which adds in the eligible activities, the housing development activities, and then an amended development and reimbursement agreement. So just quick reminder of the project. So this is at this Fifth Third Bank building right behind you here, or in front of you, I should say. The upper 7 floors will be rehabbed into 140 apartments. 28 will be income restricted to households earning 100% AMI or below. And then those units will be income restricted for the term of reimbursement. And I just want to clarify one thing. So I think when we came before you before, we initially said 25 years of affordable affordability, but this is an amended plan, and they will have had 5 years of reimbursement when this project is completed. So the remaining 20 years of reimbursement, they will be income restricted. So I just wanted to clarify that on this project because it was a little bit of a unique one. So, any questions?
Yeah, Jess, I believe this was included in the packet, but it might help for the group to just kind of high-level walk through the path that we've been on with this project in terms of approvals and what happened when, and just so we're all up to speed on this particular request and then what comes next.
Yeah, so in terms of what we've recently approved or just in like the
Starting
past?
last year, I think, when
Yeah.
it was resurrected and, we had a new opportunity here.
Yeah, so this project included, this property and then 200 Monroe, looking at Christian, 200 Monroe. So that's where the seafood restaurant is. So that was sort of the first phase of the project. There was a little bit of work done at 111 Lyon as well. There's a Fifth Third Bank branch in that building now. So the developer, which is CWD, they came before you, I think, last year for approval of the first invoices for that first phase. And then, unfortunately, given the office market right now, they couldn't get an office user for that building for the rest of the Fifth Third building. And so that's kind of when they came up with this plan with the housing TIF, it made it possible for them to do that. So that's when the amendment came before you. We have an NEZ here as well. And I did forget to mention the Downtown Development Authority is also participating in this project. So they approved sort of to forego a portion of their tax increment revenues in order to make this project feasible. Did that answer your question,
Yeah,
Jeff?
thank you. I
Okay.
appreciate that. Any discussion?
Nope. Know all about it.
Okay, seeing none, we have a motion to approve on the table. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, our next item is a resolution approving an Act 381 work plan and development and reimbursement agreement for the Pleasant Hills redevelopment project located at 425 and 444 Pleasant and 535 Church Place. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
All right, Jess.
All right. So this came before you at your June meeting and again has been through the city commission process. So just a quick reminder of the project. So this is being proposed by Habitat for Humanity of Kent County. They are planning to demolish a couple of buildings on the existing sites at 425 and 444 Pleasant and then 535 Church Place. And they will construct 27 new for sale residential units. They will all be Energy Star certified. 22 of those units are expected to be sold to households earning at or below 80% of the area median income, and then 5 units to households earning at or below 120% AMI. The eligible activity reimbursement is expected to be $2.6 million, and that's just for development loss or development gap for the project. And then you also, as a reminder, did approve a $500,000 LBRF grant for this project. And then the affordability period for these units will also run with the term of reimbursement, which is 25 years. Any questions?
Thanks, Jess. Any discussion? All right, hearing none, we have a motion to approve. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Right.
Okay, our next item is a resolution approving an Act 381 work plan and development and reimbursement agreement for the Benjamin Flats redevelopment project located at 916 Benjamin Avenue Northeast. Do I have a motion to approve?
Support.
All right, Jess.
All right, so this last one was before you in May, and this project is just, again, a reminder of the details. So they are planning to demolish the existing vacant former meeting hall and construct 3 new 2-story apartment buildings with 39 total units. 8 of those units will be income restricted in compliance with your policy, and those will be restricted to households earning at or below 100% AMI. Total eligible activities are approximately $4.6 million on this site. And then same with the previous project, the term of reimbursement is expected for 25 years, so the income restriction is also 25 years on those units.
Thanks, Jess.
I'm hearing a lot today that the income restrictions on units are for 100% AMI. We used to hear a lot lower percentages before. Why, do you have any idea why we're hearing 100% now instead of 80? Or
I think it's, a mixture of things and making projects work. We did not set parameters, as you know, for the specific AMI targets. We left that a little bit flexible. I think this particular project, they've set it at 100%, but Third Coast tends to restrict or have lower rents than 100% AMI, and I think that's what they're planning here. But unfortunately, they've noticed on some of their other buildings that they've done that if you restrict at 80%, they have a really hard time filling those units, is what I've heard from them. So there's a lot, I think, that goes into that. If that's a kind of a concern, we certainly can address that with developers, but
they'd have a hard time filling it?
when they're restricted at 80%, yeah. So.
I think there may be some income verification
Yep.
and other prerequisites that might
Yep.
make it difficult for certain renters to hit that target.
Yep.
Okay.
And I'm happy to get more information on that too,
No,
if
that's
that's
okay.
helpful, but yeah.
It just seems like there's a lot more need for lower income people than
Yep.
we're hearing.
Yep.
And I'm surprised they don't think they can find those people, but that's okay. I just was curious.
Yeah, and I think, again, I think we've talked about this a little bit here, this tool doesn't necessarily work the best for some of those really lower income restricted units. We've seen a few of those, a handful of those, but
It's just tough.
yeah, it's tough with the tool.
Thank you.
I think too, if I can just add to
Go
that,
for
probably in the coming year, we're actually going to start seeing the completion of some of these projects
Yes.
and the actual administration on the back end, which to date, we haven't really had a single project go through all the entire process and get to where it's like, all right, this is actually what it takes to monitor incomes and verify with MISTA. And so,
Yep.
so yeah, definitely look forward to hearing more about how that's working in a real sense. And again, our team's led the way in getting us to where we are to date. So I appreciate your work with that, Jess.
And Lynn, I think, you approved interim guidelines for a reason, I think, like Jeff said, right? Eventually, we're going to probably revisit those and see if we need to make some adjustments to make sure we're having the best impact with the program.
Awesome. Thanks.
Any other discussion? All right, hearing none, we have a motion to approve. All those in favor say aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Motion carries. Jess, are we okay to proceed to, okay, so we now have what was one is now our last project action item. It is the recommendation of a Brownfield Plan and Emerging Developer Grant for the 1516 Cesare Chavez redevelopment project. Do I have a motion to support, or motion to approve, rather?
Support.
All right, Jeff.
All right. So this project is being proposed by 1516 Cesare Chavez LLC for the same property. As proposed, the project includes the rehabilitation of the existing 4,437 square foot obsolete building, and then the construction of 2 additional stories on top of that building. When completed, it's expected the project will have about 2,000 square feet of commercial space and up to 17 apartments. The project is also expected to be Energy Star certified when completed. 4 full-time equivalent jobs will be created as part of the project with average wages of $20 an hour. And the housing will be a mixture of studios, 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms, with affordability anticipated to be less than 70% AMI for all 17 units. Total project costs are estimated at $3.6 million with construction costs of $3.3. The developer is seeking reimbursement of $186,300 for demolition and site preparation. This is another project that will not require an Act 381 work plan, that it's below the $250,000 threshold that was added into the law last year for eligible activities like demolition, site prep, and then hazardous material abatement. So the Brownfield plan is expected to remain in place for 21 years, and then the final 5 years again reserved for the LBRF. The developer is also seeking an emerging developer grant from the LBRF in the amount of $182,500 for pre-development costs that include architecture, engineering, and site planning. And they do meet the definition in your policy of an emerging developer. And then they currently own the property, will continue to own the property and manage it. And they are being supported by Sella Building Company on this project. They are also participating in the inclusion plan and have set a goal of 49% participation, or $1.65 million of the $3.3 million in construction costs for MLBE, WBE, and MBE subcontractors. And then this project did go before the Planning Commission as well for a parking waiver, which was conditionally approved pending a shared parking agreement, which has since been obtained by the developer. The project is also seeking a 12-year obsolete property rehabilitation exemption, which again will be considered alongside the Brownfield plan at the City Commission level. Construction will start hopefully in the fall of this year and then complete next fall. And then I'm going to ask Juan Lopez and Peter Scornia to come up and share some more information about the project.
Thank you, Jess.
Good morning. Peter Scornia. I'm a local developer and contractor. I met Juan a couple years ago. He was doing work on one of our projects as a carpenter. We've had a great experience with him. And then last year, the MEDC did an emerging developer roadshow series that we were fortunate to be part of, and Juan attended and got to talking about this project. And it was really interesting learning about what his goals were, his connection to the community, and the opportunity to turn this into a project. So I'll let Juan talk about the details.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Yes, my name is Lopez Juan, and I am the developer on this project. I'm very excited to work alongside Peter here, and he's been kind of leading the way for me. And as a new developer, I'm very nervous about this opportunity, but at the same time, I'm very excited for the challenge. I have been involved in this community for a long time now, and it would just be great to see a change like this in what, could be. So that's kind of all I got.
Well, thank you, Juan. Appreciate it. You have any discussion from the board?
I just want to congratulate you, Juan, for jumping in, and taking on this project.
Thank you.
For years, we have been talking at this board, the opportunities, to bring more minorities, first-time developers, and we have incentives, we have tools, that we have created. So thank you for taking the risk. This is not, an easy thing. Everything has a risk. So I commend you for doing it, and also, it would be great, to have you as an example, within our Latino community, in how we can, build others up, and develop, and bring new, first-time developers, to our city. So thank you for doing it.
Thank you.
Down here.
Just a quick clarification, either for Juan or for Jess. What was the MLB target again? Did I hear that correctly? Was it
49.
49%? Okay. I thought maybe I was mishearing. That's incredible. So thank you.
It's amazing what happens when you know the right people. Maybe we can use you in the future to help others find minority business people.
Thank you.
Yes, Juan, I would just echo Guillermo's comments for you to not be nervous here, right? You've done the hard part, which is to imagine the project and to take the risk of bringing it to fruition. You know, it fits our guidelines, and you know, we'll help you meet those guidelines to be able to, you know, obtain the incentives that that we would like you to have. And yeah, just reiterating, don't be nervous here. You've done the hard part.
Thank you.
Hi. Congratulations, and thank you for taking on this challenge and for being one of our emerging developers. I just want to commend you on also finding a way to preserve an existing building and that storefront on that curve. Years ago, we worked on the corridor plan for Cesar Chavez, Granville Avenue, and people do really, you know, that curve and that the architecture and the history right there, I know holds a lot of important sentiment for residents. So this is a great creative way of infilling and wow, hitting such impressive targets with the rent rates for every single unit that you're proposing. So thank you very much.
Commissioner, looked like you might have had something there.
Did I? I'm sorry. No, I'm excited to see this too. And I think, you know, while this isn't my ward, my dad worked on this corridor for many years, as well as my grandmother. And we were just sitting here talking. I think we had another conversation about just the different levels. And so I do think, again, it's an interesting, you know, marriage of both of your expertises to get to hear and to understand kind of the total cost. The other thing that I would just also say is continue to, you know, talked about some of the, you know, unsure. We've got a great staff here, and I'm sure that they also helped through that process. So I just wanted to highlight that as well. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, everyone. We have a motion to approve on the table. All those in favor, oh, sorry.
It's already done.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, our next item is an update on the Emerging Developer Grant Guidelines. I believe that also requires a motion.
Never.
Oh, I'm sorry, did I?
You skipped.
Oh, you're right. Yes, okay. Approval of a $30,610 expenditure to procure Salesforce from Public Sector Solutions and develop a public-facing application for the Brownfield Redevelopment Program.
Oh.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Support.
All right.
All right, so this next request has been something that's kind of been on staff's mind for a really long time. You know, I think as we move forward to attract more individuals and companies to participate in the Brownfield program and all of our other incentives, we're continuing to seek ways that we can make those programs more accessible and easier to navigate. So one of the ways we're hoping to do that is to update our application system. So we currently use Excella, which is something that the city uses in many departments, the Development Center, Community Development, and internally it's a great tool. For the external facing folks, like the actual applicants, it's not the easiest tool to navigate, and it has caused you know, a number of challenges over the years. Additionally, you know, staff, when we are getting applications, we track data from those applications, which we store actually in our current Salesforce platform, but it's all manually done. So it's a lot of time and effort that goes into kind of taking those applications and then you know, inputting the data into our other systems. So like I said, we currently use Salesforce to track our data and to do all of our reporting. So all those annual reports that we provide, all of that data comes out of Salesforce generally. So Anyway, so the idea is to procure this new module through Salesforce, which is Public Sector Solutions. And what that will allow us to do is to build our incentive applications in Salesforce. And then we will be able to take those applications. And one of the great benefits to that is it's going to autofill all of our data for us. Additionally, it's going to be a much easier and streamlined process for the applicant. So they'll be able to submit an application for multiple incentives, but it'll just be one application instead of, one for Brownfield, one for NEZ, one for Oprah. There will be one spot for them to fill out. They'll also be able to update applications, which is not something they can do currently. And then the data will also auto-update in our system as well. So again, it's really a great tool not only for the public side and the applicants and making things a lot easier for them, but also for staff time. We'll build in some more efficiencies for us. So the other kind of cool thing that we'll be able to do too is take inclusion plan data electronically, which is another kind of big input of data that we do on every project. So this again will kind of help streamline that data process as well. What we're requesting from you is basically about half of the annual cost to add this Public Sector Solutions, and that will, again, that'll be about a $25,000 annual cost. And then the implementation, which is going to include the building of the applications, sort of the staff support and training, 16,000 of that from the Brownfield of the total $39,000 cost. So that's where the $30,610 request comes from. And then we will actually be coming to the EDC next month when you have a meeting to request the other portion of that for all of our other incentive applications. So NEZ, Oprah, all of those other incentives that we offer as well. I'm happy to take any questions. Also, just real quick, want to just lift up Doug Booth, who's done all of the work on this for our staff. This is one of the big reasons why we hired that position, and so he will continue to lead that effort for our office, and he's done a great job on that so far. So, yes.
Well, first of all, thanks, Jess, for bringing these, updates, to our system. It's much needed. Thank you, Doc, for all your work. Is there an opportunity as you do these updates to have these in Spanish? Or pieces in the system where we can have all the readings, in Spanish as we are looking to bring new developers. This is an opportunity that we have identified, within our community. So since you are, already doing it, we'd love to see that.
I think, and we can look into whether that can be done sort of as part of this, but we also work with Well Design, and we have other, organizations that can help with the service, like translation services and stuff like that. So we can, we do that for all of our applications. Like our ESA application is also in Spanish. Our facade applications are also in Spanish. So it's certainly a priority for us. So we can absolutely look into that and try to build that in as we do this now.
Awesome. Being part of Brownfield, having been here for, over 7 years, at this board, I will be very proud to see this, application from, to Brownfield in Spanish.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where is the other half of the money coming from?
So we have like a credit from Salesforce, and actually moving forward, that'll cover kind of the other half of the annual cost for this year. And then moving forward into next year, we do already kind of split the cost across EDC, Brownfield, our general fund subsidy, and then Smart Zone, I think, is the other one. So that'll continue to be split up in the future as well.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just like to emphasize, as a past user of this application system, compared with other departments in the city where, uploading plans is pretty straightforward, but, our work is very numbers intensive, and it's often challenging to upload financial documents and, reconcile all of that on the city side of things. So I think this makes a lot of sense, and appreciate your consensus on that.
Just a quick question for me. Comparative to other, cities and brownfield redevelopment authorities, do they also use this platform, do you see, or do you see some other platforms that they are using?
I haven't seen this with Brownfield, but the MEDC uses it for all their applications. Right, Sarah? I'm looking at you. Yes, they do. So it's used in other, at the MEDC, I think, I'm not super familiar with other brownfields, but I don't know that they have even the Excella platform applications that we had. So we were already kind of, I think, further ahead in the game, and then this will just be a huge improvement from that even. Yep.
All right. Okay, we have a motion to approve on the table. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now on to an update on the Emerging Developer Grant Guidelines. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Take it away, Jess.
All right, so in your packet, you have sort of a one-pager guideline for the Emerging Developer Program. So we've seen a few of these come before you already that have been approved, but we hadn't really put guidelines in place. So we talked about guidelines, but nothing official. And so we felt like it was definitely time to do that, especially as we continue to promote the program, to make sure that, it's clear what the guidelines are, what is eligible and what's not eligible for funding, and then also, get your buy-in. Essentially, this is how we've been doing it. So we've kind of put it down on paper now. So this was added to your LBRF policy as a priority in October when we went through and did the housing TIF update. The amendments to the law at last summer kind of have allowed us to now pay for some of these expenses. And really the focus of this program is to help mitigate the risk for emerging developers and then assist with some of those pre-development costs up to and through the site planning process, site plan approval process. So just a couple eligibility requirements. So they have to meet the emerging developer definition, which is on your screen. That's outlined in your policy. They have to be supported by an experienced developer or development company. So Juan obviously is supported by Stella Building Company. We've seen another, M Village was working with Aaron Yonker, who's a developer as well, has a lot of experience. So we're looking really for them to work with somebody to come alongside them and help them through that process. Also, obviously, there needs to be a project that they're proposing, so we need some kind of an idea about what they're proposing, not looking for anything final, but just something that they're proposing. And then whatever scope of work that they're seeking grant funding for, we need to see that and be able to evaluate whether those those requests are eligible. And then for the LBRF, we do have a small application fee, and I don't have the number in front of me. Christian maybe remembers the LBRF fee. We can look that up, but it changes year to year, but it's a small fee that we charge for all LBRF applications. So eligible expenses, again, these are really what we've already kind of been approving and what we recommended as staff when we did the policy updates. But site planning work, environmental assessment, we do have the ESA grant, but we also recognize that, maybe some of these assessments have been paid for previously, and so we can kind of fold that up into this as well. Survey, architecture services, and then engineering services, so civil, mechanical, plumbing, geotechnical, and electrical. And then the ineligible expenses would be a lot of the fees, so legal, application, financing fees, market studies, and then any expenses that were incurred over a year prior to the application or the submission of the grant request. And this is a pretty standard timeframe that we use for all brownfield projects. With that, I'm happy to take questions, but I also just want to note, I think in the near future, our plan is to build an application for this program. But for now, we at least wanted to put some guidelines in place so that it's clear, and then we can, promote this more. And then also just wanted to note that we are exploring a couple other things that we might be able to add here, including consulting fees. I think we just are looking for some clarification on what type of consulting fees we might be able to pay for with the LBRF grant. And then also we're exploring, potential like programs or requirements around going through like a course, like a real estate course or something like that. So a couple things we're exploring. So we may come before you in the future with an amendment. But for now, we'd like to at least kind of get this rolling so we can promote it more. $650 is the LBRF fee. Thank you.
Question, Jess. Just for clarification, does the developer need to come a year before, a year prior to submitting this grant? Or, so for example, if someone approaches us, at the Hispanic Chamber and say, I want to get this project going, I'm bringing my team together, at what moment in time can they approach the city?
Yeah, I think we're flexible on that. I mean, I think ideally, the vision was more what we did with the M Village project, if you remember. So we kind of got involved pretty early on and helped them with some funding to kind of explore what was possible on the site. They had an idea in mind, like housing, but I don't know what I can do. So, and then we kind of did a 2-phased grant. So we did sort of pre-development and then more of those pre-development expenses to get them through site plan and LIHTC submission. So I think that's the idea. But again, we're flexible. So if there's an idea, I think really the earlier the better. And then we can kind of work through that. The last couple have been part of other Brownfield requests, which is okay too. But I think ideally we're hoping to kind of get in a little bit earlier than that. So the earlier the better.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions I can't remember. Is there a required match or a ceiling as to how much someone could request?
There isn't at this point. We haven't set that in place. And I think that's something that we've discussed. Obviously, the LBRF is a limited resource. We've kind of kept everybody below that $200,000 threshold. So it's not an official ceiling, but that's kind of where we're at. So we haven't put anything in place. That's something we could certainly explore if that's something the board is interested in.
And then this wouldn't cover any costs for the property, like holding costs, closing, acquisition, none
Nope.
of that? Okay.
Okay, any other discussion? All right, hearing none. We have a motion to approve on the table. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, our next item is assignment and assumption of a development and reimbursement agreement for the Division and Weston redevelopment project and consenting to collateral assignment of the same. Do I have a motion to approve?
Oops, sorry.
So moved.
Support.
All right.
All right.
Motion, take
Good
it
morning,
away.
board members. From time to time in the past, this body has approved assignments of properties that have gone through the process of being constructed, submitting eligible activities, and beginning reimbursement of tax increment revenues. Developers may sell their properties as private market activity at any time at their discretion. But along with that, in the agreements that we have with our developers for brownfield projects is a paragraph in there that if they do sell their property and if the buyer and seller agree to also assign the tax increment revenues to the new buyer, that this board consents to that action. So the first one today is for Division and Weston LLC, a project that Jeff and I worked on a few years ago. There's approximately 10 years of tax increment revenues to be reimbursed, and they wish to sell to Fire Up Investments LLC out of Ada, who also owns some adjacent property there on South Division. So that is the first request this morning.
Okay, any discussion on that? All right, hearing none. We have a motion to approve, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, our next item is assignment and assumption of a development and reimbursement agreement for the JB Attorney Holdings Clancy 2 redevelopment project. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Support.
All right, Christian.
Thank you. This is a project at 221 Trowbridge Street Northeast that LLC was the initial developer associated with RJM Properties out of Allendale. They sold the project to a gentleman in Petaluma, California in 2022, and now that gentleman is beginning retirement, to prepare for retirement, and wishes to sell the property to DTN Management, who also owns and operates other Brownfield and DDA projects in the city. And neither of these projects have closed yet. They wish to have this approval in hand so they can sign over the assignment and assumption of the development and reimbursement agreement at closing.
Okay.
Thanks, Christian. Any discussion on this one? Okay, hearing none, we have a motion to approve. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. And on behalf of the buyers and sellers in these transactions, and if they were here, I told them it wasn't necessary to be present, but they would all say thank you as well. So thank you.
Okay.
Well, it's definitely encouraging to see that there's interest in the market of this nature, so.
Well, and it's nice that we put that clause in there so we know what's going on too. So that was a good move.
I would just say it's also an opportunity for us to serve those initial developers as they wish to sell their properties and continue being able to transfer the asset of tax increment revenue to the new owners.
Thanks, Christian.
Thanks.
Okay, our last action item is a closed session to consider material exempt from discussion or disclosure by state statute under MCL 15.268H, namely a privileged legal opinion. And I have some language regarding this motion that I'll read. This motion will be a motion to go into closed session to consider materials exempt from discussion or disclosure by state statute under MCL 15.268H, namely a privileged legal opinion. I guess I already said that, but now it's been duly reinforced in your head. Okay, so do I have a motion to approve?
Support.
It's a roll call.
Roll call vote. Okay, so I might need a little assist with that.
Just motion first, support.
Yep, so we have that.
And just ask each person by name what they're voting.
Okay,
Oh, I'm kidding.
yeah, there you go.
ahead, Chad.
Make yourself useful. Yeah,
Yes.
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 Chair Jeff,
yes.
Director Edwards,
Yes.
Yes.
Dillard. Yes. Osterman.
Yes.
Director Sisson-House.
Just say yes.
Whatever.
To go into closed session.
Okay, so at this point, are we staying put, vacating the chamber?
We're going to go, it's up to you guys, we're going to go into the other room? I reserve my one. Okay, it's easier than shutting down the recording.
Sure.
Because we do then have to come back out of the open session. So
Oh,
Okay,
we're going to hop over to the other room.
okay.
all right.
There we go.